What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on D's Analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR today. I'm sure everybody's been thinking the same thing. Price action's been absolute trash, if I'm being honest. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. Do I think it's the end of the world? No. I'm not going to, sell and jump into meta planning either. Not saying that that's a terrible idea. Things that are OTC is just not really my kind of style. That's not what I want to do. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea or anything like that. I'm sure you can make money on it, but you could also probably lose money as well. You can also lose plenty of money on MSTR as well. So it's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, I'm still holding. Price action still looks good. I mean, we're here in this golden zone. We said we were going to get rejection here anyways, so I'm not surprised that we're seeing this. But it does raise the question of, why are we getting this kind of price action when you see Bitcoin absolutely ripping and pushing up to all-time highs? It actually broke all-time highs today. It makes you wonder, is it because of the ATM? So every time he dilutes shares, it suppresses the stock price. It's good for MSTR long-term because you're getting more Bitcoin per share because it's accretive dilution, so it's actually beneficial. But you get hit short-term with this price action, and it kind of decouples from Bitcoin temporarily as he issues more shares. So the question really is, is he going to continue to just hold the MNAV down and let the price just absolutely tank or just trade sideways? I don't really know. Just seeing this, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but when you see this, it makes you wonder, is he going to try to recreate this scenario here? We had the blow off top, and then that next push up is kind of just a lot weaker and ends up being a lower high. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I just wonder, it just makes you wonder. It makes you start thinking these kind of things when you see stuff like that. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but yeah, I know in the earnings call, he was saying how pretty much the main priority is having the share price up. But, doing the ATM obviously goes against that in a way. Not long term, of course, but short term, it definitely does. So I know a lot of people are pissed seeing it on X and stuff like that. So I totally understand. Yeah, you got Bitcoin, pushing up way up here, getting consistent daily closes up here, and just continuously tapping the ceiling. And I mean, we actually broke it slightly by like $500 or something like that. And MSTR is just doing absolutely nothing. You can actually see there's somewhat of a divergence now. We're just trending sideways, and Bitcoin's just running up. So we were trending sideways with price for now, and then the past 3 trading days, you can see where we just have gone sideways. We haven't done really anything, and Bitcoin's started to rally up a little bit more. So it could just be a temporary fluke. When you want to take out, and look at the bigger picture, you can kind of zoom out and see that we did make it to a total of 82% at the peak, and we're currently up 70%. In that same period, Bitcoin pushed up to, well, I guess we will go up here, we'll say 42% because this move didn't happen yet, but if you want to include that, it has touched 47, but at that time it was 42, and Bitcoin's currently at 45 to 46 right now. So MSTR did 70 versus 45. Like I showed you guys last time, this is a big discrepancy between this last move as well. So let's see if we take it from September 6th to October 29th, this 40% move here. So 53 days. September 6th here. Take it out 53 days, and you can see the difference. So you can see that we ran up 127% off of that 40% move. and currently we ran up 70%. We did hit 82. We ran up 70% currently, and we hit 82 off of a 40 something percent. So as you can see, we are definitely underperforming. The MNAV is kind of just holding at a lower level. We're getting bombed here on this ballistic model. So let's see how accurate it turns out to be. I mean, we have deviated pretty bad prior, but I also think those deviations were when price was going down, or it was technically after like the blow off top, because you remember MSTR typically front runs Bitcoin. So maybe that's what was happening, and maybe that's actually what's happening right now. So I wonder if that's that little 430 peak that we got here was the front run for maybe the beginning of this move, and maybe it will catch up. Who knows? Just coming up with reasons for this. But yeah, the price action is still very bullish. I mean, nothing much has really changed. It just got rejected. We should be, a little bit higher for sure. But yeah, now it's kind of just holding at like 2, then it dropped to like 196 or something like that. When we take a look at the SMAs, we're still in the same position here on the weekly. We're above the 20, which is super bullish. And on the daily, we're getting a bounce off the 20-day. Maybe we're just coming back to retest this before pushing up higher. We have seen it prior in the middle of these run-ups. Really just one retest after breaking the initial breakout. We retested once, maybe twice if you want to call that. And it looks like we're getting one now. Hopefully we can start ramping back up. Hopefully, the MNAV can ramp up. And pretty much the best case scenario would be steep run-ups, after hours kind of thing on Bitcoin. And you can see MSTR like gap up really quickly. But during the day, it seems like it just gets sold off as soon as it, starts to rally a little bit. Yeah, we'll see where things go. Nothing on the charts looks any different. Like, it still looks like we're right on pace, but just on a fundamental basis, if he continues to hit the ATM and dilute shares, then yeah, it's definitely gonna suppress the price a little bit, or actually a lot. So instead of hitting 1100, maybe we hit 900 or something like that. It all depends on how much he does and how much it actually rallies up. So we'll find out with time. If this thing starts ramping back up, everybody's gonna forget this even happened. So I wouldn't hold on to it for too long. Just stick to, what the chart's telling you. And then on top of that, you also do have the lawsuit that's been, in the news and stuff. I know they were talking about it for a little bit of time, and now I feel like most of the articles actually came out today. A lot of the articles came out today. Coincidentally, as soon as Bitcoin was hitting its all-time highs. So I don't know. It's interesting though, the timing of it. Here on the weekly, RSI, still looking pretty good. We got a nice little bottoming pattern. Higher highs, higher lows, little pullback. Let's see if we get to the overbought territory. And on the daily, we're still holding underneath the yellow moving average, and it looks like we lost this local bottom and we created a fresh low. So let's see if we can turn this thing back around, maybe create an inverse head and shoulders, or we can just make a V-shaped recovery. And the 4 hours looking very bearish. Lower highs, lower lows, just trending downward. Yellow moving averages pushing this thing down further and further. But when you take a look here on global liquidity, we're still looking good. I think it's a 12-week flag. So when you look at global liquidity, maybe we're just here on this first pullback. And, maybe we just start rallying from here, hopefully, ideally. And, of course, the same thing for Bitcoin. We should be following Bitcoin's price, but we do open up ourselves to that third-party risk when you're investing in MSTR, as we saw today. But we'll see where things go. I still think it's super bullish. Global liquidity is still ramping up. It's still looking very good, as you can see. And it looks like this just had a major pullback and it's starting to push up even higher. Let's see if we crack these highs and push up higher, and shows that Bitcoin and hopefully MSTR, get that nice extended move throughout the rest of the year. So I think this could just be temporary noise. We'll find out with time, of course. If we're sitting at 150K Bitcoin and MSTR is barely cracking 500, then we know there's for sure an issue, because if that were the case, that would be, $500 would just be a 25% gain from here. That would blow my mind. You're talking about doing 50% less than what Bitcoin's doing. That would be that would go against the reason why you're invested into MSTR. We're invested in MSTR to get leverage on Bitcoin to the upside and to the downside, not leverage to the downside and no leverage to the upside. So, like I said, the price action is still looking good. That's what we're just going to be focused on. Block out the noise for now. But like I said, if you see Bitcoin, ramping all the way up and this thing's not moving at all, then I would start to be concerned, and I would change my stance on MSTR, just not on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's still going to be doing whatever the hell it wants to do. Bitcoin's looking amazing, honestly. So we did our part, which was trying to DCA into this bottom, saying that we're not really worried about the bottom. We're just going to continue buying into it and rallying up from there, which we did. We did our part. It's now time for MSTR to do its part. We can't control what the price does, We've been looking at Bitcoin, MSTR, making these calls. Things have been going great. So it's really up to MSTR to determine what happens after that. Now it's just time to ride it out and see where things land. There's only so much we can control on our side, right? Bitcoin's looking amazing. As you can see here, we got a daily close within all of these wicks above this, the top of the range. Had 2 closes already on the daily, and we're probably going to get a third today. We got the first one here. We retested, shot back up, showing bullishness, and then boom, right back at 106.8. Closed within these wicks, super bullish, and then we broke the all-time high here by a little bit and pushed back down, and then we already pushed right back up of that retrace. Look at that, perfect. And that retest is off the top of this range. Let me delete this so you can still see the range. This was the range here from this bottom to this top, and we got to bounce right off of it. I mean, this thing looks like it's ready to break out any moment, and I'm ready to see MSTR go up with it. I'm just going to say that this was a fluke. I'm not too concerned. The last leg up, I remember seeing days like this where things would happen like that. So I don't think it's too much to be worried about. We got close to touching it here on the 20 daily, and we got a nice little move up. And on the weekly, we are well above it, and this thing is starting to ramp up. Love to see that. Tether Dominance is looking weak, which is what we want to see. Getting higher highs, higher lows, a nice trend downward. It's looking amazing. Very bullish for Bitcoin and any crypto-related assets. So this was the initial downward sloping trend line. Let's see. Looks like we're starting to create a secondary that's a little bit more steep. Something like that, perhaps. But we'll see where things go. Probably draw it out again in the future. That's kind of what we're seeing here. Things are looking very good. We want to break this level and then break below this 4.37 so we can get a further drop and an increase in Bitcoin, of course. And the dollar is looking bearish. Love that. Part of the reason why we probably broke all-time highs today. We pushed up, got rejected off of a little bit of confluence between this horizontal level of support and resistance and that downward sloping trend line. So now we just want to break below this wick here at about 97.8 and continue rolling on down. Now let's go back to Bitcoin and we'll talk about just random some random things that we've seen here when you're looking at these legs. So as you can see, if you discredit this wick here and you just go to the main couple wicks here, somewhere in this region, from this, like breaking all-time highs, or not breaking all-time highs, but breaking this local high, pushing up, you rallied about 43% from the top of this wick to the next region that you're going to be at. 43%. You look at this wick here into this region, you're looking at 46 to 50%. And then you go from this wick here to where we kind of stopped here. It's about 42% to about 47, 48. So what if we do the same thing, anywhere from 42 to 50%, 42 to 50%. So you're talking about 155 to 163 potentially for the next target. I don't know. I wish I knew. Hopefully MSTR decides to come along for the ride. If not, it's going to be painful. But if you look here, when you pull a fib, the 1618 is kind of where price was just trending sideways when you look. It kind of just cuts right through price. You can see that was kind of like the average price that we had throughout this entire period. And the same thing down here. The 1618 was kind of that middle ground. So we think if we pull from here to here, there is a possibility that the middle ground for this leg up could be that 1618, and maybe we chop as we reach this region. Maybe we hit that 160 whatever mark that we just talked about, 160 something, and we kind of just, what if that's just our next move for Bitcoin? Our range, we're range bound within these regions with the 1618 running through the middle before we make our next leg up. Don't look at these numbers on the side either. I'm not saying we're going to 400K, but it's not outside of the possibilities. It's just not the most likely scenario in my opinion. And that brings me back to this point of what we've already spoken of every 4 years, 17, 21, 2025. If we take that out to October, roughly, you could see that we could land somewhere up here, maybe a little bit short. We'll see. And then every 4 years, you get your bottom, which could take us out to 2026, somewhere here. So just keep that in mind. So if we do hit this target, it's not a huge surprise, but I wouldn't sit on that as your base scenario, because then you might get burned and you might not be able to get out of Bitcoin or MSTR, whatever you're in. You might not be able to get out of it. And like I said, hopefully MSTR, stops playing around and does its job. But of course, people that are more short term, they get more upset with this price action, of course. But then the people that are more long term, that want to sit in it for 3 to 5 years, they don't really care about this, because it's accretive dilution. So you're getting more Bitcoin per share every single time that they issue more shares to buy Bitcoin. So I understand both sides. Trying to have an unbiased opinion on it. Like I said, I think we're still on track to go higher. Is it frustrating? Absolutely. But I don't think it's the end of the world. When you line it up, we're still here. We're down a little bit. We're slacking a little, but MSTR, man, this thing, this thing can rally quick. We've seen it. We've seen it on the way up here. This candle here, this candle here, this one here. So we know we can get there. We just need the MNAV. If we just get like 2 weeks of breathing room while Bitcoin's rallying, this thing will go from whatever price it's at up 100%. If the MNAV, gets to breathe a little bit and stop being, so suppressed. But yeah, so we are deviating to the downside. Hopefully we can start deviating to the upside. But that's also, that also happens as well. So hopefully we get a run and we get a little overheated when we, hit the mid 100s. We get 140 and we get overheated and we go up, we're overvalued by 15% or something, or overvalued by 18%. I would love to see that. Where price is at 135 or something like that, and it's supposed to be at like $900, and it's up an additional 20% on top of $900. That's awesome. So deviations to the downside happen, deviations to the upside happen. So I wouldn't worry about it too much yet, like I said. But that's all I have for you guys. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you think, actually. I really want to hear what you guys have to say about ATMs, the dilution. Is this a big deal? Is it not? Is it the end of the world? Is it not? You guys let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys in the next one.